Alright, how's everybody doing this evening? Back again with another video for you guys. And tonight, what we have is a versus video. Back again with the versus / comparison video. And tonight we have the Moto X Pure Edtion going up against the Samsung Galaxy Note Edge. Now I'm going to keep this as objective as possible. I'm not going to pick a favorite. I'm just going to run down stuff and I'll let you guys decide which one you think is best. Alright, so that being said, let's jump into this. Now, I apologize for the lighting. I have to use my Note 3 to do this, and I don't really have a lot of lighting in my office right now, so I'm doing the best I can, but we're gonna keep it going. The show must go on. So I apologize for that if the light seems a little bit low. It'll get a little bit brighter once I turn the screens on these displays on, but as of right now it's a little bit low. Anyways, let's get into this. So the first thing I want to talk about on each of these devices is the build quality. Now let's start with the Note Edge. Now, from a build quality perspective, this device is built quite well indeed. All of the buttons are nice and tactile. You get great feedback on it, and the build quality on here is really solid. Now, on that same note, the same can be said of the Moto X Pure Edtion. The build quality again on this is really solid. The buttons are very nice and tactile. You get nice feedback. You can really tell this is a quality device, and it was constructed quite well. Alright, so they both have pretty solid build quality. Up next, let's talk about the screens on both of these devices. Let's start off with the Moto X Pure Edtion. So right here, screen-wise, what we have is a 5.7 inch Quad HD display, and I'm telling you, this display actually looks really good. Really good. And just so you can see it, I'm pull it up. It's actually really bright. Let me see if I can get that to dial down a little bit. Let me dial down the brightness. Just a touch. Let me see if that makes it better. Alright. So you can see that the display on this is actually really good. And you can see right there, let me let that focus. It actually has a 1440 by 2560 Quad HD display with a pixel density of 520. But really, the display on this is quite good indeed, and I've had no issues with this display. Now, let's jump over to the Note Edge. Again, another solid display. This display is a 5.6 inch Quad HD display. You get those extra inches from the curved panel here on the edge here, as you can see. But again, another really solid quality display. And again, this one has a little bit better resolution at the 1600 by 2560, but again, it's still Quad HD. This one has a slightly better pixel density or screen density at 580, but still, from a display standpoint, both of these phones have really solid displays. Alright, so up next, let's talk about the hardware and the software in these devices. Let's start over here with the Note Edge. So on the Note Edge, we have 3 gigs of RAM with 32 gigs of storage with micro SD card expansion up to about 64 gigs is quoted, but I probably bet you can fit a 200 gig card in here. You have a 3000 milliamp hour battery. Alright, you have a 16 megapixel rear facing camera with LED flash and a heart rate sensor. You have a 3.7 megapixel front facing camera with all of your light sensors and a notification LED. You have capacitive buttons with a home button in the middle, which doubles as a fingerprint scanner. Alright, and then you have your Edge display with the Edge features. Now, in terms of software, you're running Android 6.0.1, which is Marshmallow, with Samsung's TouchWiz UI over the top. So you get all of your TouchWiz features, you get your dual window, and you have another feature, which is the S Pen down here at the bottom, which adds another level of functionality altogether. And then you have your Edge features, which are along the side there, but really solid software and hardware in this guy. Now, let's jump over to the Moto X Pure Edition. Now, hardware-wise, oh, did I say? Yeah, you have 3 gigs of RAM on this as well. I think I said it already. But now over here on the Moto X Pure Edition, you also have 3 gigs of RAM. You have 16 gigs of onboard storage with micro SD card expansion up to 200 gigabytes. Alright, you have a 21 megapixel camera on the back with dual LED flash. You have dual front firing speakers. Alright, you have a 5 megapixel front facing camera with LED flash and your light sensors along the top. Alright, in terms of software, you again are running Android Marshmallow. This one's a little bit downgraded. This isn't the latest. Okay, you have a commercial right here. Give me a second, guys. This one isn't the latest here. This one is Marshmallow 6.0. So it's not 6.0.1 like over here on No Edge. But it still pretty much is the same thing. I mean, a point difference doesn't really make a difference there. Also, some other features include, so you have your standard Marshmallow. It's a pretty stock affair here. So it just looks straight, like straight Android, the way Google intended it. No issues whatsoever. Alright, so next, let's just go ahead and talk about some of the glitchers, the stutters, and the crashes. Let's start off with the Moto X Pure Edition. Now, overall, I would have to say there's been no crashes on this device whatsoever, and I've actually had this for quite a while with no issues. No issues whatsoever. Now, I will say that under heavy load, with a lot of apps open, it does get a little stuttery, but that depends on what app you're in. Particularly, I've noticed that when I'm scrolling through the YouTube app with a lot of apps open in the background, it does get a little stuttery in the YouTube app. But other than that, no real issues. Now, on that same token, let's jump over here on the No Edge and talk about some of those glitches, stutters, and crashes. Now, again, from a crashes standpoint, I've had no real issues aside from installing one game, NBA Jam. It did crash a few times till I got it installed. And other than that, when it comes to glitches, I noticed that when I'm trying to open folders, it does take a second or two, or does hiccup sometimes when I'm trying to open specific folders. But other than that, the experience on this device is very smooth. So all in all, you get a very smooth experience on either device. Now, let's keep it moving. So, up next, I just want to talk to you guys about the Wi-Fi performance, if I could talk, in these devices. Now, overall, both these devices have the same loadout when it comes to Wi-Fi. So they both have 802.11 BGN AC Wi-Fi, dual band Wi-Fi, which means they have support for the 2.4 gigahertz band and the 5 gigahertz band. And I must say, when it comes to Wi-Fi, on either one of these devices, the Wi-Fi performance let me just pull it up. The Wi-Fi performance on either one of these devices is really, really solid. No issues on either the 2.4 gigahertz band or the 5 gigahertz band when it comes to Wi-Fi at all. It's really a very smooth experience on either device. Now, what I want to do for you guys is we're going to load up a quick YouTube video. This way, you can get a sample of just how smoothly the Wi-Fi performs, and you can get a sample of the speakers on each device. So what we're going to do, I got two video sample videos loaded up here, and we're just going to go ahead and let them play a little bit, and we'll scrub through them a little bit so you guys get an idea how the Wi-Fi works and you get to hear the speakers. So let's start with the Note Edge over here. Gators, y'all, got gators. Look at that water. Alright, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Once again, this has been a camera test of the 16 megapixel shooter on the Samsung Galaxy Note Edge. One last big pan from end to end. Alright, so that was that. So you heard the speakers there, and you see how the Wi-Fi performs. Is a very smooth experience. And now, just gonna jump over here to the Moto X Pure Edtion. I must say that looks pretty good. Let's get another focal point here. Try my wallet. Wow, that looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this short because 4K files are kind of big. So, alright, so there you have it. The Wi-Fi on either one of these devices, along with the speakers on either one of these devices, are pretty solid indeed. Now, the next thing I want to talk about are the bands available for each of these devices. Now, when it comes to the Moto X Pure Edtion, it really, this phone right here supports pretty much every band on every carrier. All you have to do is drop your SIM in, and it should work. No muss, no fuss. Now, when it comes to the Note Edge, this one is more model specific, so you really got to know the bands for your carrier, and you got to go out and purchase the particular model that might work best on your carrier, or make sure you purchase an unlocked unit, and then you should have access to all the bands for all of the specific carriers. For more information, please check out my reviews on each of these devices to learn more about each device. So bands, I think you're pretty much covered on either device. So up next, the next thing I want to talk about is the Bluetooth on these devices. Now, from a Bluetooth standpoint, these devices are both running Bluetooth version 4.1, and the Bluetooth on either one of these devices is really solid. I've had no issues when it comes to the Bluetooth on either one of these devices. So Bluetooth here is not an issue. Again, to learn more, please check out my reviews of each of these devices. You can find links to those reviews in the video description. But just overall, the Bluetooth on either one of these devices is really solid. Alright, so up next, we're going to talk about the GPS in these devices. Now, from a GPS standpoint, I have to say that the GPS in either one of these devices is really solid, and it locks on within 1 to 3 seconds on either device. Now, these were both screenshots of individual tests, but I could tell you from experience that these GPSs function about the same on either device. They all lock on in a matter of 1 to 3 seconds, and you're good to go. And GPS, at least to me, is very important because, as many of y'all may know if you watch some of my previous videos, I am not too directional savvy at all. So when I'm doing things and I'm out on the street, I tend to lean heavily on the GPS on whatever particular device I may have. But all in all, I could tell you, although the numbers differ on the screens right now, these GPSs perform about the same in daily use. So the GPS on either device is a pretty solid experience. Alright, so up next, I just want to talk to you guys about call quality and speaker quality on each device. Now, call quality on each device was pretty good, and I had no issues making and receiving phone calls, and caller sound said I sound crisp and clear on either device. Now, the speaker on the Moto X Pure Edtion is really good. I had no issues with the speaker on the Moto X Pure Edtion at all. It was a really solid experience. That being said, the speaker on the Note Edge really left more to be desired. I found that when I was making speaker calls, I really found myself cranking it up, only to realize that it was already maxed out. So the speaker on the Note Edge really does leave more to be desired. Now that's that. Now the next thing I want to do is jump into the cameras on each device. Now let's start over here. So the camera interface on the Note Edge is a pretty heavy affair. You have all of these features, you have all of these settings. You can really get down and dirty with it, and really set up the camera the way you would like for each particular shot, depending on what you want to do. You have tons of settings. You have voice controls. You can change your metering. You can change your white balance. You can change your exposure. You can change all that good stuff. Alright, and again, this is a 16 megapixel camera, which lets you shoot all the way up to Ultra HD resolution. And also, that being said, you get a ton of modes on the Samsung device. You get auto mode, you get rear selfie mode, you get selective focus, you get panorama, you get slow mo, you get fast mode, and you can download more modes if you don't find one particular one that you like out of the box. For more information on this, please check out my full review of this device, which again will be linked down in the video description. Alright, on the other end of the spectrum, however, the Moto X Pure Edtion is a fairly stock affair. You come in, it's very simple. You have very straightforward settings down the side here. You got your twist to capture, which lets you twist your wrist with the phone in it to launch the camera app. So let's say, I wasn't in the camera or the phone was off, quick flick of the wrist, and we're into the camera. Also, you can see if I swipe in from the side here, having some issues with it, I just had it. But if I swipe in from the side, you get all of your general settings. You can set a timer, you can change your resolution, which again, this is a 21 megapixel camera, but you could change your resolutions to 16 megapixels or 21 megapixels. If you want to shoot in widescreen, you're going to have to bump it down to 16.1 megapixels to get that 16:9 widescreen. If you want to use all 21 megapixels, you're going to have to shoot in that 4:3 aspect ratio, so it will look a little bit cropped. Alright. Alright, there we go. Tilted it back around. Also, you got controls for your flash and your HDR and all of that good stuff. You also have a slow-mo feature and panorama in here as well. So you have that. And again, you can shoot videos with this device also in Ultra HD, 1080p, and slow-mo. But other than that, it's a fairly stock affair on your Moto X Pure Edtion right here. You can control zoom just by tapping and dragging on the screen. You can see in the corner there, I'm controlling the zoom. So it's very simple to take a picture. You just tap the screen, black out, and you're done. So it's a very simple affair on the Moto X Pure Edtion. Alright. Alright, so that being said, what I want to do now is go through some samples on each device. Let me go through some photo samples on each device. And I must say, from a photo standpoint, you really do have a solid camera regardless of whatever phone you decide to pick up here. You really do have a solid experience when it comes to the camera here. So really, regardless of whatever phone you pick up, you have a really solid experience, at least with the cameras. And that's regardless of the front-facing cameras. The front-facing cameras are also a solid experience as well. So that pretty much covers the cameras. Again, for more information about the cameras, please check out my full reviews, which again will be linked down below. Now, let's move on. Now, when it comes to gaming, you can pretty much say these two phones will handle any games that you decide to throw at them with ease. This Moto X Pure Edtion over here has an, let me make sure I get it right, has an Adreno GPU in it. This is the Adreno 418, and this Note Edge over here has an Adreno 420, I believe. Yep, as an Adreno 420. And pretty much either of these GPUs can pretty much handle any games that you decide to throw at them. Any games whatsoever. So the gaming experience on either of these devices is a pretty solid experience. Now, the same can also be said of the benchmark performance on either device. Let me just pull up the benchmarks so you guys can see. Alright. So that being said, and you can see it's a fairly close affair between each phone. It varies slightly, but y'all already know how I feel about benchmarks. They're pretty much just raw numbers. to have a smooth device, all you really need is the solid combination of hardware and software, which equates to an overall smooth user experience, which equates to a good user experience. But I just like to feature the benchmarks because I like the raw numbers. So you can see this is Geekbench 3, and it's a really close affair. Really close. And now this is, let me find the right one. That's for Lemo. And again, this is where the Moto X slightly pulls ahead in some of these benchmarks. So you can see the scores there. It's very slight, not by much. And again, it pulls ahead right here. That one's a little bit more drastic than the other one. But all in all, these devices have very smooth experiences. Now, here's something that I really wanted to point out here. In this particular benchmark, the Note Edge drastically outperformed the Moto X Pure Edtion. Now, this is the quadrant standard benchmark, and the Note Edge scored a 26,529, whereas the Moto X scored a 19,880. So, you know, that's a drastic swing. But all in all, these are still decent benchmark scores. Now, let's keep it moving. Let's move to the N22. And again, this is funny because, again, the Note Edge drastically outperforms, well, I guess it's not as drastic, the Moto X Pure Edtion, with a score of 65,004 to the Moto X Pure Edtion's 56,695. Keep in mind, the Note Edge has the older Snapdragon 805 processor in it, where the Moto X has the newer Snapdragon 808 processor. Now, I'm finding that these processors, although one is newer than the other, the performance is almost neck and neck, especially when it comes to the overall smoothness of the OS. It's a pretty smooth affair on either device. Alright, so that pretty much does it for the benchmarks. Now, let's talk about the battery life in these devices. Now, I must say, from a battery life standpoint, let's start with the Moto X. Pretty much, regardless of what I'm doing, unless I'm using light use, I'm going to pretty much get about 4 hours. Regardless of what I do, I'm going to get 4 hours of screen on time, unless it's light use, where I'm only picking up the phone to answer phone calls and text messages and checking my notifications as they come in. That changes very much when I move over to the Note Edge, whereas I'm getting about 4 to 6 hours of screen on time depending on what I'm doing. With lighter use, I'm getting about a day and a half, but I'm still getting that 4 to 4.5 to 5 hour mark. With heavier use, I'm getting about 10 hours with about 5 to 6 hours of screen on time. So the battery life, again, I'm trying to be objective, but the battery life, at least from my testing, seems to be better on the Note Edge. So that's the battery life. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is, now that I've ran through the stuff and told y'all the experiences with each phone, based on my experiences and my testing, now I just have to say, so again, y'all know I had the deals videos up, and I pretty much said which phone would unseat the king. Now y'all know the Moto X Pure Edtion has been my daily driver for a while, and that being said, it pretty much does everything, if not more, than what I needed to, and I could pretty much get everything done from this device. On the same token, I just wrapped up the review of the Note Edge here, and I get tons of features, if not slightly more than the features that I get on my Moto X Pure Edition. So, did the Note Edge unseat the king, the Moto X Pure Edition? I don't know. It's a pretty even battle between both these phones. I think I gotta call it a tie. Sure, the Note Edge has the most features. That being said, there's something to be had for having a simple, straightforward Android experience. Alright, so that being said, I can definitely recommend both of these devices to either user out there. Now, if you prefer a straightforward stock experience, no thrills, no frills, no thrills, then I could definitely recommend the Moto X Pure Edition. But if you're someone who runs a business, or you just want to be slightly more productive on your smartphone, or you use your smartphone as a tool, something like a device that you use as a mobile office, then I could definitely recommend the Note Edge. But, and again, this is where I have to drop my opinion back in. I know I was trying to be very objective based, but if I had to pick a winner between these devices, I would pretty much say, from my standpoint, it's pretty much a tie. Now, they both have solid rear-facing and front-facing cameras. They both can shoot in 1080p and Ultra HD resolution. They both have pretty solid speakers, although I do like the front-firing speakers on the Moto X Pure Edition more than the rear-firing speaker on the Note Edge. That being said, it is what it is. But all in all, I can really say you have a solid experience on whatever device you decide to pick up. That being said, again, I'm going to have to call this one a tie. So, did the king get unseated? I don't think so. We pulled out a tie on this one. Maybe later on, after some more software updates, we'll do a rematch and see if the king can still hold his crown. Anyway, that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please help your boy out and give it a thumbs up. Again, I apologize for the lighting. It is what it is. I had to shoot this one with my Note 3, and the lighting in my office here is not the best. And again, guys, if you enjoyed the video, please help your boy out and give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more raw, uncut content like this, please be sure to hit the subscribe button down below so you get notified as soon as new videos become available on YouTube. And as always, if you know anyone out there looking for some quality devices at some really great prices, please share with them my channel, because I'm doing this for everyone because we all deserve the best. Keep in mind, guys, all links to where to purchase either of these devices will be down in the video description, along